Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy Hodges, advocate for OCD, in particular pure OCD. I talk all things about living with intrusive thoughts and mental rituals. I'm a certified peer support specialist, working with people all over the world to provide support as people are working toward recovery or contemplating therapy. I can do referral consultations as well to help connect you to therapists all over the world if you're ready for treatment for OCD. NoCD and OCD is an app. Inside their app, you can find all kinds of resources, meet other people with OCD, and in fact, they do ERP therapy. Visit their website at treatmyocd.com for more information if you're looking for an ERP therapist. I'm not in my normal spot. I'm actually in Denver right now, but really wanted to get a video done. I didn't get to do one last week. I was just trying to catch up on work, and this topic has come up a few times in group over the last couple weeks and very many times before that, so I just thought it's about time I did a video on it. I'm talking tonight about when OCD, a theme of OCD, is latching onto people that we love, or regardless of what the theme is, it can even transfer if you've already had it, or if you had it, then all of a sudden you're now worried that whatever your theme was, it's latched onto a loved one, or even just an acquaintance. So some examples of this would be health anxiety, health OCD, which is a big one that people experience, especially if they have older parents, or if their parent maybe has gone through a health crisis before, but it may also latch onto your kids, or it may latch onto your spouse or friends. So what this means is you're starting to worry that maybe something might happen to them, that they're experiencing something underlying that's a health issue, or, then maybe all of a sudden you start to notice compulsions where you're checking on them over and over and over. You are asking them if they've gone to the doctor, that you're monitoring things about them that may seem like symptoms of something that you're worried about, and asking for their reassurance if they think that they're okay. Now, this can be a tricky one, right? Because if you do have a loved one that has been sick before, or who has maybe had cancer before, or, heart disease or something that could be reoccurring, it seems like, wow, this is a valid fear to have, but to what degree is that fear taking over your life? And not only that, but your relationship with that person. You may want to talk to them about it if you recognize that you're doing compulsions, and help them be part of reducing those compulsions as well. This can especially happen with transferred over when you have kids. You're responsible for kids and dogs as well, and pets, not just dogs. Pets as well. Is something wrong? I need to keep taking this my pet or my child to the doctor to make sure everything is okay. This can absolutely latch on when people have puppies or a baby. What if something happens and the child dies, and then it'll be my fault because I didn't check enough? Or what if something's wrong with the dog? I had this happen to me with my French bulldog Oliver. When he was younger, he had a leg issue, and he had to have surgery, and on both legs, actually, to kind of reset the problem, so he could learn to walk on both of them. It was a pretty major surgery, and afterwards, I was checking all the time to see if he was limping. I went in for numerous scans on his leg afterwards. And this is, a compulsion is spending money too. I can't tell you how many times I went in after the surgery. There was the normal checkup, but then a couple weeks would go by, and I would be like, I feel like he's limping, and I would check and check and check, and then I would go in for another x-ray. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars later, they finally had to be like, you know what, and you might want to wait about 6 months just to see. It's normal for him to still be sore. So it definitely transferred onto him, and this could happen for your kids as well. especially because, if you're responsible for them, what if you miss something and something happens? So it's important to monitor those compulsions around that. Now, this can also happen with intrusive thoughts, like sexual orientation. OCD is a big one that can be transferred onto other people. Maybe that's transferred onto your kids. So trying to monitor what their sexual orientation is, no matter what they identify as. This can happen with your spouse. It's, and then there's such shame around it, right? So then it's like, oh my gosh, why am I not trusting, my spouse or my kid or my family member about what they're telling me about their sexual orientation? I feel so guilty. And a lot of times it can happen for anything on the spectrum of sexual orientation, right? So if you're in a if you identify as gay and you're in a relationship, you might start to worry that your partner is straight. And so then you're going to monitor their behavior, or you may, ask them questions about their past or something to see if you can try to problem solve this. And then a lot of times when people have sexual orientation, if they identify as straight and then they're having sexual orientation about their partner, then they may feel really guilty because it feels like that they're not being supportive of the LGBTQ community, and they may, why would I even think this? I don't think there's anything wrong with being gay. And that can especially happen too if that happens with your kids, right? And the individuals that I meet who have sexual orientation OCD that is latched onto their kids, every single one of them that I've talked to is like, I do not care what my child identifies as. I will love them anyway. I have no bias whatsoever, but I just worry. I can't stop worrying about it, which makes me feel a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. And that's also true for individuals who experience sexual orientation OCD. I know it isn't talked about a lot because people are afraid to talk about it, because it's scary to think that the intrusive thoughts are going to come across as being homophobic, when it's not. It's not homophobia. It is just an intrusive thought, just like an intrusive thought, just like having one about a relationship or having one about whether you're going to throw up or not. It just happens to latch onto those. Other things would be taboo intrusive thoughts that might latch on to your family members or to a spouse or something like that. A really common one that I come across a lot is individuals that all of a sudden get intrusive thoughts of, what if my spouse is a pedophile? And they, same thing, you start monitoring things, even though in your brain, I know my spouse is not. There's no indication. There has never been any reason. But all of a sudden it's just in your head, and then you start to monitor, or you might check, and then you feel so much shame about that, because it is it's such an inflammatory thing to think about anybody, yourself or anybody. And so and then you don't want to talk about it to your spouse to boot, right? Because you're scared of what they might think. And a lot of times people can recognize that this is OCD, and they can even do the work around it to help with it, but it's the shame that gets them. It's the shame and the guilt of even having those thoughts in the first place about someone that you love. People might have intrusive thoughts about their parents, and even like false memory about their parents. What if my parents are abusers? What if my parents molested me? When there's no indication that ever happened, but you may then start to mentally review things. It doesn't even have to be parents. It can be any, a family member, a family friend, anything like that. And then, you might have false memories about it and think to yourself, oh my gosh, what if this did happen? Or what if something happened and I suppressed it? Why would I feel this way if something really didn't happen? So across the board, this can happen where any sort of theme can latch onto a loved one. It can latch onto a pet. It can latch onto your kids. And it really just is tormenting, because we really think, or you hear mostly about OCD and your intrusive thoughts. And when they are transferring onto other people, it's just torturous. Because you just don't want to talk to them about it. In a lot of ways, you you're still going to be looking for reassurance somehow, but how do you do that? How do you talk to a spouse or a family member and say, I'm having intrusive thoughts that you abused me? It's scary to think, oh my gosh, but then why am I putting that on a loved one when, usually I do know it's OCD, although it does feel so real, right? So there's so many examples of this. Basically, just any intrusive thought that can latch on for you can easily transfer over to somebody else or, of course, to an animal. So I just wanted to share that with you. There's just not a lot talked about with this one. There's a lot of shame and guilt around it, and that's probably the reason why. So wanted to tell you, it is not uncommon at all. I hear a lot about it, and in fact, a lot of people don't recognize it as OCD because it's not just coming onto the person and it's transferring onto someone else. So it is common. If you are experiencing it, I just want you to know you're not alone, and you can absolutely talk to your therapist, your OCD therapist, about this, and you can do the same type of exposure response prevention or therapy for this theme when it latches onto someone else that you would do for you. So I just wanted to share that with you. I hope you're having a good week, and I look forward to coming on. I'm going on holiday for a few days at the end of this week, and I'm going to try to get a video in before then. But if you're interested in peer support or referral consultation, head on over to ChrissyHodges.com, or you can email me, or if you're looking for services at NoCD, go to treatmyocd.com. See you later.